Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences per year for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to the industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. I'm excited for this one. There's a lot of bias, but I'm excited for this one. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Simon, CEO at the Chiefs Rugby Club, and Megan, who is the General Manager of Commercial and Marketing. For those who don't know who the Chiefs Rugby Club is, Chiefs Rugby Club is a professional rugby team based in the Waikato in New Zealand. Simon, Megan, how are you?
Good. How are you, Paul?
Yeah, good. I'm excited to have you on. We've got lots to talk about. You guys are doing some great innovative stuff. But before we get into questions, maybe a little bit about your journeys, if we can. How did you get to the seat that you're sitting in right now? Simon, I'll start with you.
Go first.
Great. Morena, Paul. Yeah, happy to give a bit of background. Yes, I've been, I think yesterday was actually 2 years in the hot seat as CE. Prior to that, I spent 7 years on the board, including a couple as interim chair. So probably not probably the normal progression, although there's others in the room that have done it in similar ways. And then I think, like anyone, or like a lot of us, fan from day dot. So this is my sort of my turf and my region and my club. So yeah, I've probably got a perfect job for me, I reckon.
I like it. And what before you got to the board, what were you doing before that?
So yeah, prior to the Chiefs, I was 15 years as CFO with Graafhuis, which is one of their major sponsors, which is a positive and probably was a little bit of an issue at the time too. But yeah, that's another whole podcast probably.
And Megan, yourself?
My journey was a very long one to get to rugby, but I'm American. And I moved to New Zealand 13 years ago. And oddly enough, I'd never seen a game of rugby in my life when I moved here. So I didn't know much about the sport, but I've had a background in marketing and sponsorship over the years in various industries. My first kind of big corporate role in the States was with ING Financial Services, and we were the major sponsor for marathons around the country. So always involved with sport from the brand side. And when I moved to New Zealand, I followed similar roles. One of my big jobs when I first moved here was heading up sponsorship for Air New Zealand, which was a major sponsor of the All Blacks. So I got introduced to rugby quite quickly and thrown into the deep end. And then over the years, just kind of bounced around and ended up back in the Bay of Plenty area, which is near the Waikato. Was looking for a governance position and was recruited to the board of the Chiefs Rugby Club. So that was an exciting adventure a little over a year ago. And then I did a strategic piece of work looking at the commercial strategy for the future, presented that to the board, and they said, well, can you come in and lead the team? So I stepped down from the board and came in and joined the team.
The way when the paper's that good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been an adventure, but excited to be leading this team. And over the past year and a half, it's been a really exciting time for us. A lot of growth and change and innovation in the digital space. So.
Let's dive into that. But before we do, maybe a little bit about just Chiefs Rugby team and the mission, if you can, for listeners that are not too aware of Chiefs Mana.
Yeah, look, happy to jump on that, Paul. Look, I think the Chiefs Club too is wider than just the Waikato too. So obviously we've got 6 pretty proud provinces, including Taranaki, Bay of Plenty, counties, Thames Valley and King Country, along with Waikato, which is where we're based. Have both the professional men's and women's teams, so the Graafhuis Chiefs and also the Chiefs Manawa. And so I think the women's game in New Zealand's a relatively recent development, but pretty exciting opportunity. And we have a bit of a one club philosophy, so it doesn't matter whether you're a men's or women's team, front office or back office or rugby, we're all one club. So in terms of sort of, the team's mission, the individual teams, it's pretty easy, get out and win. But I think as a club, we talk around winning with purpose. So for us, we're a hugely values-based organisation, and I'm sure we'll cover off some of that. But it's how we engage, how we act, how we behave are all really, really important to us. And you touched on mana in terms of that's probably a gift that our fans have probably given us as sort of Chiefs mana. So each day we've got an obligation to be better, to maintain and strengthen the club and our perception and all of those that deal with us. So yeah, that's probably, hopefully that's enough of a 10,000 foot view.
Very good, very good. And then I guess what I think it's always something the listeners ask for is what does day to day look like as CEO and head of commercial for a Chiefs Rugby Club. I think they'll probably find that fascinating because there's a lot of fitness people listening to this, but a lot of sports fans as well. So, what does day to day look like?
Really busy, and I think at this time of year it's really interesting. People say to us, or they often say to me, "Oh, what is your job full time? What do you do in the off season?" But I think in any sporting environment, the work you do in the off season sets you up for the season. I mean, we're busy in season in a different way, and it's about putting on events. A lot of ways we're an entertainment events business, but we run a rugby program. So, I mean, the players are now. We've had a first of our women's Manawa camps, and the boys were in last week. So we've got players now back in, but I think in that off season, we've got a whole heap of initiatives around new technology, changes we want to put through, and you flick to a whole heap of commercial re-signs, deals. In the current climate, it's probably as hard as it's ever been. So there's a lot of work that has to go on in that space.
Yeah. I think we've changed to in recent years where fans expect to engage year round. So we're actually, even though we use the off season for our planning and setting up new initiatives, we're selling memberships for next season. We're thinking year round. How can we connect with our fans? We've got content we're sharing out. So it's become a year round game instead of just the Super Rugby season.
I like that. And what would you say is the greatest highlight? What gets you up a bit in the morning to come and perform for the Chiefs?
I think for me, it's the people. We've especially seen that connection we have as a rugby club. It is really like a family here. We've had a staff member sadly pass away this last month, and just the way that the club comes together to support not only each other but his family and everyone in it. It's just amazing. It's such a powerful, tight group of people, and it just makes you so proud to be a part of, and every day come to work and work hard for that. So
it's hard. Sorry, it's hard to explain that to people. Like, of course, as a board member, they talk about, how, do you think that comes from the high performance side, and the how linked we are to the community, the Māori roots of the Chiefs? Like what? Why is that? I can't even put it into one line. I'm not expecting you to answer it. I just think it's an important thing that the Chiefs do that probably doesn't get highlighted enough.
Yeah, it is really hard to explain. I think, which we'll talk about the documentary in a little bit, but in our doco, one of our coaches says at one point, this is a unique rugby club. It's like no other rugby club in the world. And it's so true, but it's really hard to put your finger on why. It's just a feeling. And I think it's because it's based in, we've got really strong values. We do prioritize family. We treat each other with respect and in line with those values. And there's a lot of history with the club that everyone's really proud of and wants to maintain and kind of honor those who came before us in setting up the club and what we stand for. So I don't know if you explain it better than I can.
No, look, I think, and you're both probably touching on it. It's hard to explain because it's a feeling. It's not and people who come here talk about it, that you feel welcome, you feel included, and you feel part of it. And Paul, you've probably come on most recently, so it's probably something you can touch on as well. But I think as an industry as well, professional sport is pretty brutal, but it's also a really positive industry. On average, and hopefully we're better than average, but on average, you win half your games and you lose half your games. If you're in business and you failed 50% of the time, it probably wouldn't be a great environment. And I think everyone turns up at the start of the season thinking they're going to win the comp. Every game you go out, you think you're going to win. So I think that flows on to the attitude of everyone. Everyone's positive, good people, and I've seen in business, you probably get 99% of the stuff right, but you can fail on you can fail because you focus on the 1% to the detriment of the 99% you get right. So I think sports is a pretty unique industry.
Yeah, I was talking to Bill about this, and I think sometimes from a business point of view, you try and take the risk off the table too much. Whereas, of course, when you're playing, high performance rugby, any sport, you're trying to do your best no matter what. You've got to take risks. You've got to do, and I feel that's probably my biggest learning looking at a sports team mentality versus business. Sometimes I always joke about entrepreneurism as like, going, 10,000 feet in the air and jumping off and working out how to make the parasail work. You know what I mean? to land safely. Where I feel like from a Chiefs point of view, it's very much just try to do just better constantly. And I know, there's a lot of plaques and everything that say do 1% better and marginal gains, all the rest of it. But I think sometimes corporate world, you try and de-risk as much as possible, and people have different agendas to not take too much risk, especially as you get bigger. Whereas you can't do that as a professional sporting team. You've got to try and innovate to be better all the time, every single game. So there you go. There's one of my lessons, but it's not about me. So let's get into Chiefs Pass in terms of we're seeing the emergence of, and you said it, Simon, of entertainment and media and sport all come together. I think you can probably safely re-engineer all media strategies to understand the commercial success of certain sports, really, like F1. So talk to me about Chiefs Pass and what's the primary objective of Chiefs Pass.
Yeah, I think Chiefs Pass, the idea came obviously and working with Wexer around how can we actually tap into our audience that's purely engaging with the club in the digital space. So, Wexer's got a lot of a good track record in that sense, and we're able to work with us closely on standing up a web-based video platform that people can subscribe to get exclusive access to the Chiefs Club. So for us, it's about how do we deepen that engagement with our fan base. We've figured out that it's roughly 80% of our social media following is based overseas. So that's a large part of our fan base that are not going to buy a ticket to a game. So, looking outside of our traditional commercial levers with ticketing and merchandise and sponsorship, we needed to find new ways to actually monetize that fan base. So that's the primary reason, is to deepen engagement with our fan base globally and to get, to monetize an asset that we have here.
And then what is the content that's going to be on Chiefs Pass to engage the fan base everywhere?
Yeah, well, I think it's we've just launched it the last couple of months, and we're trialing different levels of content. We're trying to think about our fan segments as a whole and trying to provide content that appeals to everyone. So trying to put up content that kind of engages our rusted fans. So that might be more rugby centric, where you've got coaches breaking down game footage, or you might have an alumni player like Liam Mason talking about his favorite games when he used to play at the Chiefs. We're also thinking about the family audience. So you might have some skills and drills that a dad could take and actually share with their kid and, run them through, or it might be yeah. Or just explaining the game of rugby in a way that's simple. We've got a lot of really fun content behind the scenes, getting to know the players, having a bit of laugh. That kind of appeals to your more social, kind of younger demographic. And we've also got a lot of content that we've captured to support, obviously, the documentary I mentioned earlier that we've just launched in New Zealand, which is a 3-part series, deep dive into who we are as a Chiefs Rugby Club last season. And we've got a lot of extended content that sits in that space that's just never seen before. And that's a lot of storytelling around our rituals and who we are as an organization. Those values come through. You really get to know and meet some of the players and follow their journey with the club. So that's that's the type of content that we're looking to put out through the platform, and really just trialing a bunch of stuff and seeing what sticks, monitoring it, seeing what people are engaging with, and then doing more of those things. Yeah.
And then for you, I guess, how has, everyone talks about it, but how has media transformed the way fans interact with rugby?
Well, I think I heard this recently that, sports teams are not restricted to their local markets anymore. We're become globalized products. And so we have to find ways to, I guess, engage with people all over the world. And so the media has helped us do that. Technology, media, digital is so important to get that reach and that exposure to people all over the world who want to follow the Chiefs story, or just that little inside view of what it's like in this unique rugby club.
Yeah, and I think we've also seen the way content has been consumed changing too. So there's obviously been a massive rise of the bite-sized pieces in the social media. But then, this is probably a good example too of, I think podcasts are almost at the other extreme, where you have these long-form, real in-depth discussions around specific stuff. So there's the full gambit, and they all appeal to different people. So like anything, and it'll be a bit like Chiefs passes, we'll probably carry on doing the things that have the biggest impact and the most reach.
Yeah, I didn't put in the question, so I'm going off script a little bit. But the Dallas Cowboys, they must have played, I don't know, help me out, Megan. They must have played in the weekend, or American fans, I'm sorry. But they did a live TikTok selling of shirts where they would normally do an advert and they would get maybe 3,000. They got 60,000 on TikTok doing live through influencers, actually just selling shirts. So it's coming, right? Like, it kind of feels to me that just like to be honest, just you go to a commercial TV thing and they sell you a vacuum. Feels a bit like that, but it's just powerful when it comes from the personas, and they actually had alumni selling the shirts, and so it's real. It's here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if anyone would like to buy the new shirt, that have literally just come in, the range is there. Go online and buy it.
Yeah.
I'll tag it when this podcast comes out. I like that, Simon, always plugging. So then I guess in terms of the entertainment elements, like, I would say that the Chiefs are definitely leading the way, biased of course, but in regards to entertaining the non-traditional rugby fan, can you dive into that for us in terms of what we did last season and what we're planning on doing this season?
Yeah, I think we're no different than any other sports franchise trying to entertain their fans. But we're very much shifted our thinking over the past year around, we are in the entertainment business and we've got to compete with other entertainment offerings. So when we look for inspiration, we look outside of New Zealand, we look to other sports franchises, we look to other entertainment offerings to see what we can bring and kind of, steal from them to apply to our fan experience. And last year we tried some really cool stuff that delivered. We had our first ever drone light show in New Zealand for a halftime show, which was outstanding. We leaned into themes like on May the 4th, we played the Force. So we had a Star Wars themed night, and we had a lightsaber guild do a fight on the pitch. But those types of things actually attract people outside of your traditional fan base. So it gets people talking and wanting to come to see more than just the rugby. And we're really lucky because we've got a coaching, playing staff that really understand the importance of that. They know that it's more than just the game on the pitch. It's got to be entertaining. We've got to have the fan experience around the actual event really humming. So other things that we've looked at, there's probably a little bit more behind the scenes, is looking at our customer journey across every step in interaction with us as a club, from when fans are thinking about going to a game all the way through to how they leave and that engagement we have with them post game, and looking for ways to improve each of those steps, making sure, like last year we implemented digital ticketing offering across everything. We're looking at advancements in hospitality. We're looking for those kind of brand moments where we can tell our story along the way. And then we're trialing new things like the Chiefs Pass and engaging with fans in the digital environment. We're revamping our website currently, and we're trying to bring the whole game day experience that you have the physical environment into a digital environment so people can engage with us in multi-devices. We're also just launched the documentary, which is a huge investment in telling our story globally and getting our brand out there and helping people connect with the players that these, the unique stories that they have. So yeah, lots to do in that space, and it's challenging to remain competitive and try to keep innovating and looking for new things, and that's why we keep looking further afield for inspiration.
I have had probably, I think, about 25 to 30 WhatsApps over the weekend asking how do they get access internationally to the Chiefs doco, by the way. So,
Yep.
So shout out to Sean.
Well, we're trying. If anybody's out there listening and they're in the media business, we've got a beautiful 3-part documentary that's for sale. So we're looking at exploring how we can distribute it worldwide. We've had a lot of interest with networks offshore, but yeah, still working on that. So hopefully it'll be coming to whoever's listening, a country near you.
Yeah, well, I think that of course, it highlights us, but it also beautifully highlights the region and the people of the region and rugby in general, right? So yes, please reach out to me.
Definitely. And I think it does appeal. I think our story kind of goes back to what makes us unique. Our story and what we showcase in the documentary is more than just rugby. So it appeals to non-rugby fans and rugby fans alike.
Yeah. My touching moment, not to ruin anyone that hasn't watched it, but is Cortez, the first moment you got the All Black. That got me, that one. But yeah, it was
pretty special, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was. And I guess in terms of the buy-in, if we look at, of course, the sports teams that Wexer works with and fitness facilities that works with, it's the buy-in is the differentiating factor in terms of how everyone starts to just operate as a norm when they're looking at media. Like, you've done that so well. Like, is that just culturally based off the values that we have, or is there some secret sauce that you could share?
I think there's probably an element of both. I think there's I think it's built on trust. So look, to be honest, not everyone was totally on board to start off with, but there's pretty wide consultation, and we largely the exec and leadership group agreed that if we were going to do it, we were all in, and so we got to that point pretty quick. But that's not to say there wasn't reservations. There's some moments that are captured and that we want to carry on capturing. The players' changing room's always been pretty sacred in terms of cameras. So the fact that we had documentary crew in there is pretty special. And then I think a fair bit comes down to the credibility that the documentary team had too. They were they weren't in your face. It wasn't huge amount of lights and sound booms and all that sort of stuff. It was, they tried to blend into the background and capture the moments rather than make sure everything was staged. So it's about getting that balance right. And they're good people, so that helped. Then they earned the trust of the players. And look, and coaching group, the players were probably the fastest in terms of embracing it, because I think most of them live their life in front of a camera anyway and post on social. So they're young and into that stuff. So they were probably the easiest people to get over the line, which was interesting.
Yeah. And it is it's a challenging one too, because it's not just the buy-in for the initial project of the documentary, it's the buy-in to continuously feed this content hub that we are standing up and future proof our business, to keep telling our story and keep sharing. And that's a big commitment. And it is, as Simon said, it wasn't supported by everyone from the beginning. And it's taken some time over the past year to really kind of demonstrate the value that it can bring. And it will continue to evolve as we go into the future. The documentary, getting that out to market, it's going to open up more doors. Chiefs Pass, as we scale up and feed that content platform more, that's going to continue to create opportunities and challenges. So I think it's that continuous having to, show the organization the value in investing in initiatives like this.
Yeah, no, nice. And then I guess, how do you, in terms of effectiveness, in terms of feedback mechanism, and how are you measuring success, I guess, with a lot of these initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, we're looking for increased revenue. That's why we've done it, is to try and diversify our revenue streams. So if we can get some traction there, that's obviously a huge mark of success. We want to deepen that engagement with our fans and grow our fan base. So, subscriptions, more followers, people wanting to hear from the club. We do survey and, basically measure fan satisfaction in various capacities. So that will be important to us, and just getting that reach and engagement overall.
Yeah, nice. No, I like it. And then in terms of, I guess the broader things that are impacting sports in general, like esports, and replicating, playing rugby via an avatar, or I know it hasn't come to rugby yet, but it's coming, quite hot to football. It feels like it's just growing the pie. But what's the thoughts on, virtual sports simulations, and again, I guess we know that the younger audiences are going there, but how does rugby react to that, in your view?
Well, I think all of those are really valid, and we're evaluating some of those. It's a way that we can engage with wider fans or create fans. I mean, this year, which is well overdue, Super Rugby is going to have a fantasy league. So there's some probably non-traditional ways for rugby. I don't know that we need to. We can copy with pride from lots of other sports that have done it. And I think you just need to test and try and carry on doing the bits that the fans respond to.
No, it makes sense. And then I guess in terms of, is that the philosophy at the moment, kind of be a bit of a fast follower with, AI, data analytics, or is there anything that you would say that we need to lead on and do more from a rugby point of view?
Yeah, I think being a fast follower is pretty. I mean, that's often the easiest way, isn't it? And I think in terms of rugby, people are saying to us that we're first to do things. We're a long, long way behind, particularly the Northern Hemisphere. So both of us have spent. I mean, obviously Megan through being brought up in the States, and I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time there. So I've spent a lot of time in North America and admired the way they put on games there, and it's the stuff that goes on in a stadium around the game and how they engage with fans and what you can do has impressed me for a long time. So I think there's some pretty quick wins. But in terms of technology in the game too, I think we are doing some interesting stuff now. We were the first to trial microphones with the players, so that gave a unique insight, which has had a massive positive impact on the players that did it, because we saw how they led, how they responded, what they did, doing a lot around player data. I mean, all the players have got, like a lot of sports, their GPS tracked. They've got instrumented mouth guards. So in terms of, we know that it's probably as safe as it's ever been. We're monitoring the players. We can see the impacts. Like I said, mouth guards, monitoring head knocks and those sorts of things. So yeah, the game itself, I think, is in pretty good space around tech.
Yeah, well said. And then how do you see the team evolving in the next 2 to 3 years? Probably from a team point of view, but also commercially.
In terms of the squad, I mean, I think both the Graafhuis Chiefs and the Manawa, you look at the squads that have been announced, I think there's no shortage of talent. I think to be a contender, you need a little bit of luck to keep those people on the park. If we have who we think available towards the end of the season, we'll go deep into the comp and have every chance of being there at the end. So yeah, need a little bit of luck. But yeah, luck doesn't get you to the point of having the squad. So there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to make sure we've got people ready.
Yeah. And I think commercially, we just have to keep staying on top of trends and what's happening overseas, what's working well. And we like to, in the commercial team, we like to be the leaders in this space in New Zealand. With the first to do a Super Rugby documentary last year, the first to do the drone show. So we're always looking at innovative ways to be first at things. And we've got a few ideas up our sleeve for this coming season, especially around the theming of the games. But yeah, I think it's just about staying on top of those trends and seeing what works, what doesn't work, and connecting with our fans and listening to them. What do they want from us? You know, if we don't listen to them and we don't have those insights, then, you know, it's not, we're just kind of, you know, flying blind.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And I think, you know, in terms of, and it's probably not, it's not normal for New Zealanders, but I think we need to be better at telling our story, telling what we do well, telling them how good the game is, because we're often aren't good selling ourselves.
No, I can see you just having a live feed constantly, Simon. You know, I always joke to him about this. I mean, just every day you step in, you just have a live feed, and we'll just cast you the whole day.
Yeah, that wouldn't be that entertaining, I don't reckon.
It's like the knockout group.
I reckon you'll be surprised. Okay, and then how do people connect with you both?
Anyway, I mean, happy to provide my email or on LinkedIn, but yeah, I would love to connect with anybody who's listening that wants to hear more or has any other questions. I'm happy and available.
Yeah, same. And if anyone's got any ideas of what we can do better, what we aren't, what we should be considering, yeah, helping us be first in any space would be useful.
Well, thank you very much for joining the Wexer podcast. You know, from a personal point of view, I appreciate all the hard work that you guys both put in to make sure the Chiefs are successful on and off the field. So, thank you very much, both of you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers.